Hello. Sorry about the blurry eyes. Just got out of the shower. The boiler's just packed up, so literally it went cold and I had to get out in a hurry. So open your eyes. Right. Naivety and desperation. When you pair the two together, what you'll do is you get people putting their faith in the wrong people, basically. Now, if you went back a while back, there were people that were already working out that we had a two-party system, first past the post kind of thing, that would stop anybody else sort of coming along. And there wasn't anybody really that we could vote for. Fast forward, you get the Brexit Party set up by Nigel after he totally rubbished UKIP, UKIP's leaders, and many of the followers. That then turns into Reform. And Reform, building up to this election, got underway, and Farage decided he fancied himself in politics, which he has done for a long time, okay? In so much as he's tried to win a seat in Thanet and whatever, but now he has actually become an MP. What I'm getting to is when you look at the way that party was set up, who it was set up, who the funders are, it's supposed to be really about common sense, British patriotic politics. And yet when you find out some of the people that are funding it and one of the biggest funders, you have to ask yourself the questions, where is the integrity? Now, I know parties need money. I get that. But it would be like being against grooming gangs, etc., and noncery, but taking your money from something like the BBC or Jimmy Savile back in the day. I digress. What's happened, especially with things like the news, is that we have got sick and tired of the offerings that you get from the BBC, which is so slanted, that people are turned off. And what they've done is they've gone onto the social media. This became a massive problem. So what they started to do is start to put their news onto the social media like YouTube, etc., and get YouTube algorithms to promote them rather than independent content creators. And they got people who to verify fact checkers, which were no more than left-wing lunatics. However, they realized that what they needed to come up with was a brand new news network that we were going to trust, that was going to aim its people as sort of our age group, centrist to centre-right to right-wing, and that it was going to give us an honest and non-polished version of the news. Well, we know what's happened there. And what it did is it put a lot of very honest speaking to start with, frank people in there, and very quickly they got rooted out as time went ahead. Now, what you have is a controlled media, which many people within the UK believe is actually a decent grassroots media, and they also believe that things like Reform are grassroots. There is a saying called astroturfing. This is where people from the actual people that you don't particularly like or the organizations you don't like set up a group of people with funding to allegedly start something up, and it looks like it's from the grassroots. But from the very beginning, the people that were put into these positions are indeed paid actors. They're controlled. They may not have come into politics or news as paid actors originally, but they have become, in their time, people that work for the thing, all right? And these people are very good at their job. Now, many of you, like I was, would have been hoodwinked in the early days by Farage. For a start, he got us Brexit, which he did. He campaigned endlessly. But I truly believe that in the entire time he was campaigning, he didn't think that we stood a chance of coming out. He would have kept his cushy seat in the EU. And a lot of video evidence has come out about that man, about his money dealings, the people he's had to deal with, the things he's got up to in the background. He's not what everybody thinks he is, okay? And I've watched these videos and I was like, well, makes sense. But many of the people that we're being offered up, that show up on, say, for instance, GB News, the regular people, these people are all, many of them, I should say, not all of them, but many of them are indeed working for the very people that we are thinking that could be causing this problem. Now, I have to watch exactly what I say, and you're going to have to do some digging for yourself. But when you look at people like the person who has funded Reform, and he works for, or he has his connections with the World Economic Forum, we all know what the World Economic Forum are. Now, when we looked at the likes of Geert Wilders, Marine Le Pen, and many others that are, we think, honest talking, straightforward nationalists. They're not. And when Geert Wilders actually got in, all the things he said he was going to do, he didn't. Okay? And this is just the way it is. Do you think, ask yourself this, do you think if the people who have control of the narrative, that's the media, would actually allow somebody to come on and tell the truth? Not really. Now, the only reason that these people like GB News will start reporting on stuff is that you, me, millions of others have already found out that there are grooming gangs up in Rotherham, okay? That there are millions of undocumented migrants coming across the channel that are the very worst kind of the people from the countries they represent. You know, we all know this. So it's like the cat's out of the bag now. So when they go in and talk about this on the news, on GB News, you think, oh, this is groundbreaking. No, it's not, because you already know. And they already know that you're going to other means, which is why they've tried to censor so much on, say, for instance, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, etc. All right? If they control the narrative, okay, to the extent that they do you think they would actually give an honest forum literally the ability to say anything? Of course it wouldn't. And in the same way as that they control politics, okay, and they've got the two-party system pretty much, right, and first past the post, which kind of stops, as you've seen, reform getting any major inroads. What they've realised is that you're so totally and utterly disillusioned with the Conservative Party over what they've done the last two sessions that nobody votes for them. And they wanted Labour to get in to take us back into the European Union, all right? But what they did have to do is give you some sort of hope on the right, so you didn't just kick off and take to the streets, that you might possibly do that. They gave you some hope that, say, for instance, reform was going to come good, okay, and one day going to take us back to where we need to be. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you now. Because if that was a true grassroots party that had started getting any sort of traction, they would have been prescribed. Stuff would have been made up about them, and they would have been prescribed, because they can't have something unchecked out there. Now, this might seem hard to take. This might seem like conspiracy. And to me, if I was hearing this 8 years ago, I probably wouldn't have believed it either. But I've been doing this long enough now and looking into stuff long enough now, and I've connected all the dots, that I realise that, well, that's the way it is. These people have controlled the narrative over thousands of years, okay, through different eras, okay, different times, and they're still doing it now. And they will continue to do it, all right? Now, the changes that we're going to go through is going to be the obliteration of the cultures throughout Europe, okay, and some of the New Worlds, because there are a group of people that have decided it needs to happen. Now, while I've researched things like the troubles over in Northern Ireland, the other thing that I'm looking into now was the breakup of Yugoslavia, and how there were a group of people who, they committed war crimes, by the way, make no odds about that, but these were Christians, and they believed that Muslims were their enemy, and they committed war crimes against them, which is wrong. War crimes are bad. But what did actually happen was they saw that nationalism had actually gained traction, and a faith in Christianity and nationalism moved mountains. And what happened? The globalists then moved against that. It's one of those things that you cannot allow people to determine their own future. And this, as I'm doing more and more studies over about the Balkans and what happened, what they've done, right, or what is happening, is they're pitting religions against each other. They're pitting cultures against each other. And what you're going to see all the way through Germany, Spain, France, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, UK, and Ireland, is there will be cultures that will go to war with each other because of their religious beliefs. Now, on one side of them, the religious belief will be very strong in many parts of Europe. Okay, that will be the new to the reservation. And on the other side, the religion has almost been spanked out of many of these people, and that's been done on purpose. Now, I'm not going to go into the reasons. I've talked to 1,000 times about this, but there will be a them and us thing going on, all right? And this will be bad, and nobody wants it, by the way. And if you'd have tried to make this happen, say, for instance, the people that are making this happen now, they tried to make this happen, say, for instance, 60, 70 years ago, it wouldn't have gone. It just wouldn't have worked. But you have to look at it. When they started to bring, say, for instance, people from India and the West Indies over here to rebuild, apparently, after the war, I scratched my head at that. I was thinking, well, why? Oh, the place needed to be rebuilt. Okay. If that was the case, then why were you sending our tradesmen to Australia for £10? Surely it would have been better to take those other people over there and let our tradesmen rebuild. And when you start looking at the plan that's gone ahead, and if you have a look, say, for instance, at pictures of Birmingham or London in the 50s and the 60s, and now you look at them today, they're unrecognisable. This was no mistake. This has been an ongoing plan, okay, that's happened over the last 70, 80 years, maybe a bit longer, okay, and the plan is being fulfilled. But now we're in the end stages of it, where it's racing ahead. And if we get taken back into the EU, they will literally put on a ferry system for these people to come over to finish the job. And at which point, we'll have our sovereignty and everything else taken off us, and we literally won't be able to do anything without permission. So have a think about that. Now, I might do a live stream in a bit, just simply because there might be some of you that want to talk about this. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'll put a link out if I'm going to, about 20 minutes, half hour before I do. Let me know what you think in the comments. I do watch them. Now, this channel's being throttled at the moment. It goes through periods of that happening, and then it comes back out, and then it does all right, and then it goes back into the throttling period, and that's where we are at the moment. It is what it is, all right? I can't live stream on this channel because they don't like me talking to you like that. It's funny because they never come out with anything. They made something up, but obviously there it is. But ask yourself this. Why is it they feel the threat from people who are telling the truth? Anyway, there it is. I'm going to get off, and I'll speak to you in a bit.